Well, for more insights on the government work report and the 14th five-year plan, we're joined from Portland, Oregon by Yan Liang, Professor of Economics at Willamette University. Good to see you again.
Good to see you again, Rachelle.
So as we saw, China has set a growth target of over 6% GDP for 2021. Is setting an annual growth target and at that rate a surprise at all?
I don't think so. I think this is a signal that the government wants to show us that the economy is returned to this new normalcy. If you recall, the growth rate in 2018 and 2019 before the pandemic was 6.7% and 6.1% respectively. So I think the government is projecting that the Chinese economy is probably going to grow at that rate. And I also think that, World Bank, IMF have all projected China's growth rate to be higher than that, in the range of 7 to 9%. So I think this target is well within China's reach. And it also helped to double China's GDP per capita by 2035, because that would require an annual growth rate about 5%.
So then what sort of clarity did we get on the policy focuses for the next 5 years, really to fend off stagnation and promote growth?
Right. I think the Chinese government is ready to employ a series of fiscal, monetary, industrial, financial, and trade investment policy mix in order to boost the economy. So I think in general, on the supply side, the government will continue to use expansionary fiscal policy and prudent monetary policy to promote investment, technological innovations in order to upgrade productivity and engage in the so-called intelligent manufacturing. And on the demand side, the government, again, is committed to creating jobs, promoting income growth, and boosting consumption demand.
And speaking of jobs, we heard the Premier Li mentioning tough conditions for small businesses and mounting pressure in maintaining stable employment. What's really needed to support these two aspects of the economy, and what's your outlook, especially for employment?
Right. So the target for job creation is 11 million, which I think is a relatively conservative target. When you think about last year, 2020, despite the pandemic, China has created 11.86 million urban jobs. And also thinking about 2021, the projection is there will be 15 million new entrants to the job market, including 9.1 million college graduates. So I am hoping that the government will be able to continue some of the effective policies in the past, for example, providing job trainings, also increasing, civil service recruitments, and also, providing finance for small and medium enterprises to, keep their jobs and increase their jobs. But I'm still hoping the government will take more, more rigorous policies, including, direct job creations in some of the social services like education, elderly care, healthcare, and also environmental protection.
Now, I want to shift gears to look at the China-US relationship. We know, obviously, that still remains in the spotlight. What's your understanding of Premier Li saying, quote, "We will promote the growth of mutually beneficial China-US business relations on the basis of equality and mutual respect"?
Right. I think this is very consistent with China's stance on, the U.S.-China relations, which is, China is aiming for mutual benefits and try to deter from, confrontation and conflict. So I think in a way, this is China speaking to the U.S. Not to continue with some of the very destructive actions like the tariffs, like the blacklisting Chinese companies or delisting Chinese companies. And I think, China is making great efforts to build regional trade with, RCEP and also with Japan and Korea. And it's also working with European countries, again, to rebuild that multilateral system. So I think this is really a sort of a signal to the U.S. That the U.S. should not box itself out of this multilateral trade and investment system.
And we also know that consumption has also been a focus in China. What's your take on the post-pandemic consumption outlook in light of the country's dual circulation drive?
Right. So consumption demand is really the key to that dual circulation model. So I think the government will try every ways to try to boost consumption. So on the one hand, I think they're trying to boost consumer confidence by, for example, providing better healthcare and making education fairer, as the premier talked about. and also, on the other hand, trying to create more jobs and provide more income growth. And I think also technological innovations is helping as well by providing, for example, high quality, more abundant consumer goods bundles that would also help to expand consumption demand.
And as people spend more, where does that put priorities like healthcare, buying a home, and education, which are traditionally what people save money for?
Exactly. So I think what the government is trying to do is to reduce what we call the precautionary savings. And on the other hand, trying to provide more and better access to education, healthcare, etc. So people will be spending money to improve their life standards. And that would also, on the other hand, boost the domestic consumption demand.